Now this video is going to be a final summary regarding F1 25, the brand new game coming out later this month. Now the objective of this video is to basically give you guys a indication of where we're at compared to F1 24 and F1 23, and if you think the game is worth buying. Now I will note, if you guys want to comment any features that I've missed that are confirmed, put them down below for other people to see in the comment section. Now I want to be clear, I will have exclusive early access gameplay from the game on my channel in a couple of weeks. So if you guys want to see something in particular from me, let me know down below in the comments. Now we begin with Breaking Point 3, or the fourth part of the story mode iteration, which began back in F1 2019. We then had it in F1 2021, then F1 23, and now F1 25 is the culmination, the championship story. Now, in a nutshell, I actually played F1 23 Breaking Point in full. I actually didn't half mind it, but the same issue persisted. It was too easy. The AI were terrible. This year, we have an additional, actually a level up, extra harder difficulty. I still think it's going to be very easy. Basically, that extra difficulty is in the region of 85 to 110. So anywhere between there, that's where it's going to be, but it will give people like me a bit more of a challenge to kind of really immerse ourselves into the story mode some more. Now I completed F1 2019 story mode. I didn't finish F1 2021 or Breaking Point Part 1. I actually finished last Breaking Point Part 2 in F1 23, so I believe I will play the entirety of this one as well, and I'm actually low-key looking forward to it because with the extra difficulty it should be more fun. The issue is I'll play through this in literally a day or two max, and that will be it, and you can't revisit the game mode. So it's a part of the game, but it's very short, sweet, and instant. So that's Breaking Point story mode Part 1. Part 2, we have My Team 2.0, and this is the biggest change in the game, the biggest game feature, the biggest part of this year's F1 25 game, and what I'm most looking forward to. Now granted, I'm not going to be overly excited. There's still some caution on my side because we want to see how those features actually interact and how they play, because in last year's game, F1 24, we had a revamped driver career, and they kind of, raved about a whole bunch of new features, and it ended up being, okay, after literally a season and a half, you kind of knew everything, you kind of discovered everything, and there was no more novelty. So within literally like 2 months, we kind of maxed out the career mode experience per se. So with that in mind, the jury is still out regarding the My Team changes, but hopefully there is a bit of depth, and it does seem with the decal editor, which by the way, very important distinction, it's not a livery editor, it's a decal editor, which means there are still going to be some limitations in the game, in terms of what we can do. It's more like we have better preset liveries which can evolve with sponsor loyalties, and then you can also customize the sponsors to rotate, fit, scale them, but you still are somewhat limited. The actual liveries can't be designed, if that makes sense. You're basically just modifying an existing canvas. Obviously elsewhere, I want to see how, not being the driver yourself anymore, that dynamic of basically managing two drivers, a bit like F1 Manager, should be quite an interesting experience and something very different. It has been met with some criticism. I personally don't mind it, and you get to basically choose which driver to race as each weekend, with the shared goal of hopefully improving the team and moving forward. Now obviously my team, I believe, has 10 playable seasons, not something that I'll be doing of course, but hopefully we'll do a good 3 to 5 seasons if the game mode delivers and has that depth that we really are looking for, and we can hopefully get some long term playability out of the game mode. So for me, I am cautiously optimistic, but I'm also well aware that this isn't everybody's cup of tea, so there has to be something more other than a career mode. Now for My Team this year, we do have the icons, and they've added F3 icons. They've made it a big thing, but it isn't really that big in reality. It's quite disappointing. So we have historic drivers, we have esports drivers, we have the Breaking Point drivers, and then of course we have the F3 icons. Obviously we're going to have F1 and F2 2024 available as well, but it doesn't feel like it's got enough depth. In a game where you can no longer drive as yourself and you're managing two drivers, You would want more options, not less, and they've taken away a lot of drivers that were in past games. F3 drivers, you literally have Tim Tramnitz, Nikola Solov, Callum Voisin and Matthias Zagazeta. Personally, I only know Nikola Solov, but generally, I know they're not the most relevant or important F3 drivers. And if this is exclusive to the Iconic Edition, it's not really enough of an incentive. Like, you want to have, if not the whole grid, half of the grid at least. In terms of historic drivers, they've also taken the chainsaw and cut away and taken a lot of those away. Now granted, they weren't all legends, but no Maldonado, no Kobayashi, no James Hunt. They're already in the game. Why take them away? I have my theory. I believe they've paid Lewis Hamilton an absolute fortune to be the cover star of this game, but it's a shame. It would be cool to have Kevin Magnussen, Sebastian Vettel. Why not? They were in your game recently. Daniel Ricciardo. Why take them out so soon when it's an easy asset to have as basically free agents, and that would give you much more playability and a lot more depth. Now obviously driver career is still there. I'm assuming it's going to be completely unchanged compared to F1 24, so whatever they brought in new for last year's game will still be the case for 25. The only difference really, and this applies to my team and driver career, is the possibility of either playing or adding Conesport or Apex GP into those respective career saves, but basically that's going to be it in terms of what you can achieve in playability. Now of course we have F1 World. I would love to know how many of you actually interact with F1 World, the kind of challenges they set out, the special goals or special events that they do. I really want to get some feedback here. I might even do a poll on a community post just to kind of gauge to what degree people play this, but it's something that I really do not care about. I think it's an extremely huge part of the game that's wasted. It's going to be a thing, unfortunately, with the F1 World Podium Pass combination. That's how EA make their financials on the game, and that isn't going to change anytime soon. So we're kind of losing a part of the game to this, which is a shame. Now when you have a game that has a wasted feature like F1 World, which takes up a lot of the game's allocation, and you've got the existing career mode and breaking point, you need something new, and that's where reverse tracks comes in. Again, new feature. Personally, I actually love this, and I haven't even played it yet, but I'm most looking forward to this. It's the thing I am most excited for in the game. I think it's going to really open up a new avenue of content, especially also for me as a league racer. I think that will be quite popular. I think it will be used quite a bit. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you have a certain open-mindedness, this feature essentially gives you more tracks onto the game because they've made them fully playable with, pit lane, safety car procedure, racing lines, wet racing lines, all of it. So it should be quite interesting. Even extra DRS zones, brake markables in reverse, everything is basically scaled to make it a proper circuit in reverse, and it's going to change the experience, and I think it could be quite interesting. So I really hope this is received well and does well, and we get more of this and it gets scaled up in the future, because the fact is a 24 calendar circuit with this game, and we only are getting 3 circuits in reverse, is a little bit of a letdown, bit of a shame. I would have liked to have had at least maybe 6 tracks double, which basically means a fourth of the game, a quarter of the game is reverse tracks. That would have been a bit better, but beggars can't be choosers. It's a new feature, so let's try and hopefully receive it well and have some fun, and that's something for you guys if you're planning on buying the game that's new this year. Now you can add these tracks to your career mode calendar from season 2 onwards. So for example, you could actually have a British Grand Prix double header or a Austrian and Styrian Grand Prix double header, normal and reverse. They have taken out Portimao, worth noting, so those special tracks that we got a couple of years back now are all gone basically, so we're back to kind of the original allocation of tracks on the calendar, but we now have 3 reverse options. In terms of gameplay, obviously we haven't tried the handling officially yet. There is the beta, I've tried the beta, but the reality is the final product at launch, the handling on the 27th or the 30th of May when the game actually comes out, we haven't driven that yet. Nobody has. So we still don't really know what that's going to be. That's a massive question mark over the playability and the gameplay. However, there is opinions out there, there is beta feedback out there, there is other feedback from creators and things that have gotten out there so far, and the general consensus seems to be it's a bit of a happy blend between F123 and F124. You have F124's front end sharpness, but not to the same degree, combined with F123's more consistent, I'd say, smoother experience. So you're going to get something in the middle. I believe they haven't fully been able to fix this issue. They kind of dug themselves into F124 because you can still flick the wheel and do certain things that were meta in F124, but they've tried to basically not encourage you to use those things anymore by overheating tires, adding tire wear, and different gameplay characteristics. So in a nutshell, I think handling wise, you're going to get something that's not quite F123, but definitely not as unpopular as 24. And also, my quick take here, F124's current handling at the end of the game cycle, I actually don't mind it that much compared to the beginning of the game. I think it's acceptable now. So I think hopefully there's nothing game breaking or like they add something that's ridiculous into the handling this year, and just try to hopefully, if it ain't broke too much, don't try to change it too much. In F123, it was basically on the money for my liking, and they made a massive change for 24 when there was no need for it. So hopefully we can kind of go back to 23, keep some of the characteristics or the elements of 24, which I like about certain parts. Some of the front end sharpness is quite nice for turning, but just keep it consistent and do what the community wants. Another part of the gameplay experience is of course the AI, and we've seen some early access gameplay from a few creators, and of course we saw that gameplay video from F1 last week where they showed 15 minutes of gameplay, and it's hard to tell really until you really put them into practice yourself and race against the AI. But for the most part, it doesn't seem to have had a massive change, and they even confirmed this in like hidden, I won't say patch notes because there's been no patch yet, but hidden kind of developer notes, also on the dev blogs. They have kind of hinted at the AI still runs around in DRS trains or packs, but they've hopefully addressed the way they use battery to kind of compensate for that. But basically it tells me they haven't really got rid of the kind of front end sharp meta. They haven't really got rid of the AI running in groups. And the biggest issue really why the AI don't work well is because they revamped the ERS from 23 to 24, and they haven't really applied that well to the AI in terms of how they deploy and use their battery, which breaks the experience a little bit. So I'm not entirely convinced that's been addressed, and that is a big shame, a bit of a question mark. And hopefully when I bring you guys the early access gameplay in literally a week or two, I'll be able to really, test these things on a version of the game that's much more closer to the final product and push the AI to their limits. The final part of the gameplay aspect is of course the LiDAR tracks. Now this is a much welcome feature. Like the reverse circuits in terms of adding more depth and better playability, this year we have 5 updated circuits, and they're all at the start of the calendar. So we have Bahrain, we have Australia, we have Imola, we have Suzuka, and also we have Miami, which of course recently just happened in real life. So I'm quite a big fan of this. I love that we're getting the track updates. We've actually seen that in the gameplay so far, and visibly they're much different also from the beta, and also handling elsewhere. You can also feel it. They do feel quite different. They do present themselves quite differently, and that's very good in terms of gameplay. So far, in terms of the gameplay aspect, we're essentially 1 for 3, because the jury's still out regarding AI and the jury is still out regarding handling, but the actual tracks we're driving on are good. The issue is, again, a bit like reverse tracks, only 5 out of 24. Granted, you're not going to redo all 24 because some have recently been reworked. But for example, Mexico, Brazil, especially those two, need a massive update. Those 2 tracks are so out of date and they're highly inaccurate. Elsewhere, I think Monaco could do with a tweak. Monza as well is very outdated, especially last year where they revamped the curbs entirely. So Monza needs some work, and possibly also Baku as well, and there's a few other ones. But those 3, I'd say classic racing staples: Monza, Mexico, Brazil. Those 3 are in desperate need of an update. Now, in terms of online, I don't think nothing's going to really change. It hasn't really been talked about much in terms of, what's changed for online. So leagues are going to basically stay the same, which is why leagues are so dependent on a good handling model, a good battery ERS model, and also good tracks. So I do believe those LiDAR tracks are going to be used a lot in league racing. If I was a league runner, I would actually use the reverse tracks because they're there, and I would also lean on those kind of recently renewed LiDAR circuits. But for the most part, we'll see what happens in terms of online. I'm a big league racer myself, as you guys know, so we'll see. But I do hope reverse tracks get used. That's one thing that I'm kind of hoping will make the league racing experience a bit different this year. Anyway, my final summary on this game is that we're somewhere between F1 24, 23. I'm inclined to say we're a little bit closer to 23 than 24 in terms of gameplay features, richness, and hopefully the eventual handling. But the reality is there's still question marks there. So we'll truly find out very soon with the early access exclusive gameplay on my channel. So guys, comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts. Have I missed any key features? Obviously I could go into extreme depth, but I don't want the video to be 40 minutes long. But we know about all the My Team 2.0 features, but it's more, do you like reverse tracks? Do you think there's potential here to scale this up? Do you want to see more LiDAR tracks in the game? If so, which ones do you want to see? Realistically, do you touch F1 well? Do you use it? Breaking point, are you keen? Is it a 2-minute game feature that you're going to breeze over very quickly and just move on to the next thing? I want to kind of get some feedback and also possibly suggestions in terms of what to do to make the game better. But yeah, like I said, early gameplay coming soon, and we'll see what this game has in store. Again, just being transparent, it's entirely up to you if you want to pre-order or not, but that is what we have in this year's game. If you do want to pre-order, I've got a link down below. To the bottom, scroll down, you'll see part of the EA creator network. So if you guys want to get a little discount, you can. But generally speaking, that's going to be it. So we'll see what happens very soon in the gameplay. But yeah, hopefully, crucially, I just hope the handling's good and the AI are fun, because if those two things are good, you're going to have a good gameplay experience whilst driving on track. Regardless of the features that the game may have, if the core gameplay is good, the game will be good, like F1 23. So we'll see what happens. Anyway guys, like, subscribe, let's try and smash over 1,000 likes on this video, and yeah, like I said, subscribe for more F1 25 gameplay. As always, a massive shout out to my channel members for supporting all the content that I make. I massively appreciate you guys, everybody on screen now on the list, along with also guys the 2 videos which I do recommend you check out for more F1 25 or just my general F1 content, which I may recommend you watch, especially Assetto Corsa. But yeah, in the meantime, cheers for watching guys, take care, and that's goodbye from me. Ciao.